So what is biohacking?
So biohacking.
Biohacking.
Yes, I'm obsessed with biohacking.
Biohacking is people making changes to their own bodies and biology to feel or perform better. This can be as simple as changing their diet or exercise routine, or as complex as using technology and gadgets to track and improve their health. It's like using yourself as a science project to improve how your body works.
It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
Let me introduce you to Dave Asprey.
Dave Asprey, probably the world's most famous biohacker.
I'm planning to live to 180 years old, and I'm not kidding about that.
Asprey coined the term biohacking. After suffering from chronic fatigue and several illnesses, he began experimenting with unconventional methods to optimize his health. His experiments and experiences in enhancing his own biology laid the foundation for his future work in biohacking. Since 2018, the term biohacking was added to the Merriam-Webster dictionary. One might ask, at first glance, it may seem excessive, a product of our fascination with self-improvement and technology. But when we consider the context of our modern lifestyle, the relevance and potential necessity of biohacking becomes clearer. But let's rewind a little. Okay, maybe not that far. Today's world is inherently different from the environment humans evolved in, spending much of our time indoors, whereas historically that was not the case. Over the course of the past 200 years, workers have migrated from places like fields and farms where they were working to factories and offices. Instead of being out in natural sunlight, they are spending the majority of their time toiling in the glow of a blue light screen. This can put us out of natural circadian rhythms. Take Joe Bloggs, for example. He wakes up, he might brew a coffee in his dimly lit house, drive pre-dawn his commute to the office, which he hates, and spends his day tapping away in a stuffy cubicle while intermittently checking his phone for updates of the outside world. A YouGov survey found that 90% of people spend close to 22 hours inside every day. In fact, 1 in 6 people practically never go outside. Take Joe Bloggs. He may only spend as little as 15 minutes outdoors during the day. That's only half the time it takes to correctly calibrate your circadian rhythm clock. Don't get me wrong, modern amenities have undoubtedly made life easier for humans. However, this may be a use case for biohacking, as it may bridge the gap in this departure from human nature and behavior. Moreover, our diets have drastically changed. The abundance of highly processed food, rich in sugars and unhealthy fats, is a significant departure from the nutrient-dense whole foods that our ancestors consumed. KFC, Burger King, McDonald's, Subway, you name it. We are the only species intelligent enough to invent science and convenience, and in the same hand, stupid enough to let it kill us. But don't take my word for it. The European Commission themselves have stated 52.7% of the adult population are overweight as of 2019. And this is only growing. Take the World Health Organization, who say that more than 80% of adolescents do not meet the recommended levels of physical activity. Although nowadays we have custom workout routines, high-end home equipment, Peloton machines and fancy gyms, it is our ancestors of the past who have us beat on physical activity. Researchers from the lab of evolutionary biologist Daniel E. Lieberman used data on falling body temperatures and changing metabolic rates to compare current levels of physical activity in the United States with those of the early 19th century. The resting metabolic rate, or the total number of calories burned when the body is completely at rest, has fallen by about 6%. This translates to about 30 fewer minutes of daily exercise per day. And the culprit, the author says, is the technology. Instead of walking to work, we take cars or trains. Instead of manual labor in factories, we use machines. Since I've spent the last few minutes complaining about all the things we are getting wrong, maybe I should start providing some solutions. There is a paradox with physical activity in humans. On the one hand, our bodies were designed to move, not to sit in a chair all day, to run, jump and climb. But here's the twist. Our brains are wired to seek efficiency and conserve energy. We're programmed to be a bit lazy. Our ancestors needed to conserve energy for hunting, gathering, and avoiding predators. Every calorie saved was a calorie that could be used in a time of need. So in a way, our inclination to rest isn't laziness, it's a survival mechanism. Fast forward to the modern era and we find ourselves in a world where physical exertion is often optional, not mandatory. We've engineered physical activity out of our lives. Escalators replace stairs, cars replace walks, and screens replace playgrounds. But here's the catch. While our brains love this new cushy lifestyle, our bodies, not so much. When we avoid physical activity, we're actually going against our design, leading to a host of health issues, from weakened muscles to reduced mental well-being. So how do we reconcile this? How do we outsmart our own programming that tells us to take it easy? Firstly, it's about understanding the importance of movement. Just like eating and sleeping, physical activity is a fundamental human need. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity for our physical and mental health. Secondly, it's about making movement enjoyable. If exercise feels like a chore, we're less likely to do it. The key is finding activities that you love, that make you feel good, and that you can look forward to. Thirdly, we need to reframe our mindset. Instead of viewing exercise as something we have to do, let's see it as something we get to do. Start with simple things like taking the stairs instead of the elevator, walking during phone calls, or having standing meetings. These small acts of resistance against our sedentary tendencies can add up to big health benefits. In conclusion, while our bodies might crave the path of least resistance, our health thrives on movement. It's about finding the balance, honoring our need for rest while challenging our tendency to stay still. Remember, every step counts in the journey to a healthier, happier life, so you gotta keep moving. Where does food fit into all this? If the food wasn't around 150 years ago, chances are it's not the best choice for your plate today. Why, you ask? Because our bodies are like vintage cars. They run best on the fuel they were originally designed for, not luminous colored snacks and cereals that you need a chemistry degree to understand. Back in the day, meals were simple: meats, vegetables, fruits, nuts. Fast forward to the 21st century, and it's like we're at a carnival. Everywhere you look, there's ultra-processed, hyper-palatable foods designed to hijack your taste buds and trick your brain. But here's the kicker. While these foods are good for your palate, they're not good for your body. Humans historically were experts at storing fat. This is a handy skill when food is scarce, but today, with snacks around on every corner, not so handy. Our bodies are still playing the store fat for winter game, but let's be honest, for most people, winter isn't coming.
Winter is coming.
The increase in snacking and constant grazing means our bodies hardly ever get a break from digesting and processing food.
I like it. Another!
Whole foods are your ticket back to the basics. They're nutritious, satisfying, and guess what? They actually taste like food. So the solution to get back to eating like humans and not like Pac-Man? Whole foods and implementing bouts of periodic fasting. Fasting has been around since humanity itself has existed. Although historically, those periods of fasting were not always optional. However, engineering bouts of fasting into your diet gives your body a much needed rest from digesting food and a chance to tap into those fat stores for energy and the removal of old dead cells in the body by a process called autophagy. But enough about food and physical activity. Let's talk about what we know best: light.
Cue the sun.
Accumulating evidence on the health benefits of sun exposure indicate that insufficient sun exposure may be responsible for 340,000 deaths in the US and 480,000 deaths in Europe per year. Take this study of 30,000 Swedish women that found all-cause mortality was inversely related to sun exposure. Basically, the mortality rate for women who avoided sun exposure was 2 times higher than those with the highest sun exposure. The question is, how do we hack this, as most of our lives are inconducive with getting sunlight at this rate? This is where we introduce red and near-infrared light therapy.
What is red light therapy?
I've been using red light therapy.
When you used a red light bed.
So, red light therapy.
Red and near-infrared light therapy is harnessing the therapeutic wavelengths of light without the harmful UVB rays. The wavelengths 630 to 660 nanometers for red light and 810 and 850 nanometers for infrared light are believed to penetrate skin and tissues where they can be absorbed by mitochondria, the energy-producing centers in the cells. This absorption stimulates the production of adenosine triphosphate or ATP. This enhances cellular energy, reduces inflammation, and promotes healing and regeneration. But where did this all begin? The origins of red and near-infrared light therapy can be traced back to the work of Hungarian physician Endre Meister in the late 1960s. Meister is often credited with accidentally discovering the biological effects of low-level laser light, which laid the groundwork for what we now know as red light therapy. Meister's discovery happened somewhat by chance. He was conducting experiments with a low-power ruby laser, similar to those used in early laser hair removal studies. His initial goal was to test if laser radiation could cause cancer in mice. He shaved the backs of the mice and exposed them to the low-level laser light. To his surprise, not only did the laser not cause cancer, but it actually accelerated the healing of wounds and promoted hair regrowth in the treated areas. This unexpected outcome was one of the first recorded instances of light therapeutic effects on living tissues. Building on Meister's findings, subsequent research over the years has expanded our understanding of how certain wavelengths of light, particularly in the red to near-infrared spectrum, can have various biological benefits. Red and near-infrared light therapy is used for a variety of purposes, including improved skin health, accelerating wound healing, reducing inflammation and pain in conditions like arthritis, aiding muscle recovery, and even improving hair growth. But best yet, it's a non-invasive, side effect-free treatment. I'm sure you're thinking, with all this talk of the past, our ancestors back in the day, what's natural about standing in front of a red light therapy panel? Well, just as people have decided to artificially implement more physical activity in their lives via the gym, spin classes, using those fancy gyms, using science to harness the therapeutic wavelengths of sunlight when you otherwise do not get the sufficient access to it, replicates and doses these specific wavelengths of light to optimize your health. In this context, biohacking can be seen as an attempt to counteract the unnatural aspects of our modern lifestyle by optimizing our diet, incorporating regular physical activity, and using technology like red light and near-infrared light therapy to improve your health. For the best red light therapy panels in the game, visit spectraheal.com.